In a quiet village surrounded by whispering woods, two twin sisters were born, alike in face, but worlds apart in heart. One carried kindness in her smile. The other wore pride like a crown. For years, their bond was a mirror of love and envy, until one evening, a mysterious mirror appeared in their attic. It didn't show faces, it showed souls. When Lila, the fair-skinned sister, looked into it, she didn't see beauty. She saw something twisted, cold, and cruel staring back. What the mirror revealed that night would change both sisters forever. This is not just a story about mirror. It's a story about truth, pride, and the reflection that lives inside us all. The morning sunlight touched the wooden floor like soft gold, filtering through curtains that had seen decades of laughter and secrets. The smell of freshly baked bread floated from the kitchen, but inside the small room, silence lingered, the kind that happens when something unseen begins to shift. Lila stood near the cracked window, her fingers gently brushing her golden hair. Every reflection, in glass, spoons, and puddles, reminded her own beauty. She had begun to love her reflection more than her sister's company. Nora, her twin, sat quietly on the edge of the bed, hands folded in her lap. Her dark brown eyes carried calmness, and yet a quiet sadness. She loved her sister endlessly, but lately, every word from Lila carried the sharpness of pride. Downstairs, their grandmother called with a voice that trembled with both age and mystery. "Girls, come here. There's something I want to give you." The twins rushed down, Lila first, her white dress fluttering, followed by Nora, whose footsteps were soft but steady. On the old table lay a velvet cloth, thick with dust and time. Grandmother smiled faintly. "This belonged to your great-grandmother," she said, her voice slow and meaningful. "And now it belongs to you both." Lila's eyes glowed with curiosity. "Is it jewelry?" she asked eagerly. "No," the old woman whispered, pulling away the velvet. Beneath it gleamed a mirror, golden, antique, and alive with a faint inner light. Its edges were carved with symbols that seemed to breathe when touched by sunlight. "It's just a mirror," Lila said with a hint of disappointment. Her grandmother's eyes glimmered, soft, wise, and piercing. "This mirror doesn't show faces," she said. "It shows truth." "Truth," Lila repeated, almost mocking. "What's that supposed to mean?" Nora stepped closer, her voice a whisper. "Maybe it shows who we really are." Grandmother nodded slowly. "Remember, children, never look into this mirror when your heart feels unkind, because it doesn't lie." A chill moved through the room, not from the air, but from the meaning in her words. Lila forced a laugh. "It's just a story," she said. "Mirrors don't know feelings." But deep in her grandmother's eyes, Lila saw something ancient, something that said this mirror wasn't just glass. It was a watcher. That night, when the wind hummed softly outside, the mirror stood in the corner of their room, quietly waiting for one of them to look. And Lila, unable to resist a whisper of curiosity, would soon do exactly that. That night, sleep refused to come. Lila turned on her bed again and again, the sound of wind brushing against the wooden window, whispering her name like a secret. The mirror's faint golden edge gleamed in the moonlight, silent, patient, calling. Her thoughts twisted. What if it's true? What if it really shows something different? She sat up, her heartbeat quick, curiosity stronger than fear. Nora was fast asleep, her breathing slow and peaceful. Lila picked up a candle, tiptoeing across the floor. The stairs creaked under her feet as she climbed to the attic, the air growing colder with each step. The moonlight fell across the mirror like silver fire. Lila stood before it. Her reflection appeared, familiar, perfect. She smiled softly. "So much for magic," she whispered. But then the flame flickered. The reflection blinked on its own. Her face began to change. Her eyes darkened. Her lips curved, but not in a smile, in something cruel. The reflection tilted its head slightly, watching her. Lila's breath caught. What are you?" she whispered. From somewhere deep within the glass, a faint voice, not human, not loud, whispered back, "I am what you hide when you smile." She stepped back in horror. "No, you're lying." The reflection laughed, a silent laugh that echoed in her chest, not her ears. Then, across the fog glass, word began to form, glowing like fireflies. Beauty fades. Pride remains. The candle slipped from her fingers. Darkness swallowed the attic. Her chest tightened. The cold air pressed against her skin like invisible hands. "Lila!" Came a voice, soft, warm, human. Nora stood at the door, lantern trembling in her hands. Lila turned, eyes wide. "Nora, it's showing monsters." Nora stepped forward, her eyes fixed on the mirror. But when she looked, the reflection shifted, showing her as she was. Calm, gentle, surrounded by a soft golden glow. "It's not showing monsters," she said quietly. "It's showing truth." Lila trembled. "Then why do I look like that?" Nora's voice broke slightly as she answered, "Maybe because that's what your heart feels like tonight." The wind howled through the cracks of the attic. For a moment, both girls stood silent, one glowing with innocence, the other shaking with denial. And then, as the lantern flickered, the mirror shimmered again, as if satisfied. It had spoken its first truth, but it wasn't done yet, for every reflection carries another story, and the mirror had just begun to tell theirs. The next morning crept in quietly, carrying with it the smell of dew and with smoke. Yet inside the twin small home, the air felt thick, as if something invisible had stayed behind from the night before. Lila sat on the edge of her bed, her eyes fixed on the ceiling. She hadn't slept. The mirror's words replayed again and again in her mind. Beauty fades. Pride remains. They echoed like whispers from another world. Nora moved silently, setting a small cup of tea on the table beside her sister. "You should eat something," she said softly. "You didn't have dinner last night." Lila didn't answer. Her reflection in the window looked pale, hollow, like the mirror had taken something from her. Nora sat beside her. "It wasn't lying, you know," she said gently. Lila's voice cracked. "Don't say that." "But it's true," Nora continued, her tone not judgmental but calm, almost sad. "You've changed, Lila. You stopped listening. You stopped seeing people. You only see yourself." Lila clenched her fists. "Stop talking like you're better than me." "I'm not," Nora whispered. "I just want my sister back." Silence stretched between them, painful and long. Outside, children's laughter floated from the village square. But inside, the sound only deepened the emptiness. For the first time, Lila didn't feel beautiful. She felt seen, in the worst way possible. She stood suddenly. "I'm going to prove it wrong," she said sharply. "That mirror, it lies. I'll show everyone that I'm still perfect." And before Nora could stop her, Lila was already running down the road, her white dress catching the morning wind, heading toward the village where admiration waited like an addiction she couldn't let go of. Nora sighed deeply. The tea had gone cold. She looked toward the attic door. A faint golden light shimmered under it again. The mirror wasn't done. It was waiting. The village was alive with sound. The chatter of merchants, the laughter of children, the music of life and motion. Lila walked through the crowd, her chin lifted, her smile perfectly placed. Every glance that turned her way fed her confidence. "Lila, you look like a princess today," a woman said. "Your hair, your dress—" "Oh, you're glowing," another added. The words poured over her like honey, sweet and dangerous. But as she passed by the glass window of the baker's shop, her eyes caught a reflection, and her heart froze. It wasn't what it should have been. The reflection smiled, but the eyes were hollow, cold, hungry. She blinked and looked again. This time, her reflection turned its head slightly on its own. Lila stumbled back, breath caught in her throat. "No," she whispered. "Not here." "Lila?" Nora's voice came from behind her. She had followed, worried. "What's wrong?" Lila turned, trembling. "It's following me," she said. "The reflection. It's not just in the mirror now." Nora looked at the glass, but saw only herself. "Nothing's there," she said softly. "You're just seeing what you're afraid of." Lila shook her head, panic rising. No, it's real. It's showing me what people don't see. It's Her voice broke as she saw her reflection again. This time, it smiled wider, crueler. The world around her blurred. The laughter of the villagers echoed in her ears, distorted, sharp. They love you for your face, not for your heart. The voice came from inside her head now, or maybe from inside the glass. Lila ran, through the streets, past the market, past the fields, until she reached the quiet edge of the forest where their house lay hidden in shade. She collapsed beside the old fence, breathing hard, her eyes filled with tears. "Why is this happening?" she whispered to herself. The wind rustled softly through the trees, and from the attic window, faintly glowing in the distance, she thought she saw the mirror shimmer, as if it had been watching the entire time. Inside that reflection, something was forming, a shadow, hers, but darker, deeper, and it was beginning to move on its own. Night had fallen again, darker than before. The house was silent, but silence can sometimes be the loudest sound of all. Lila sat by the fireplace, staring into flames. Every flicker reminded her of the shimmer she had seen in that cursed mirror. Sleep had abandoned her, and the whisper of the mirror had started to echo in her mind like an unfinished song. She could feel it calling, a soft pull in her chest, a voice without sound. It wasn't just curiosity anymore. It was something deeper, an addiction to knowing, even if knowing hurt. Nora watched her sister from across the room. Her gentle face carried sadness and fear. "Lila," she said softly, "don't go back there. You're not the same since you looked into it." Lila's eyes glinted like glass catching fire. "You don't understand," she whispered. "It's not just a mirror. It's alive." Nora shook her head. "It's feeding on what you feel. Every time you look, it grows stronger." But Lila stood up, her voice trembling. "It showed me something real, something no one else sees. I have to understand why." She picked up her candle and walked toward the stairs, ignoring Nora's desperate plea. "Please don't." Each step up the creaking stairs felt heavier than the last, like the air itself didn't want her to go. The attic door was open, just enough to let a thin line of golden light spill out. The mirror waited inside, silent, still. Lila stepped in. Her reflection appeared instantly. Tired eyes, pale face, trembling hands. But tonight, something new appeared behind her reflection. A faint shadow, smiling. She stared. The reflection began to move, but her body didn't. "Who are you?" she whispered. The reflection smiled wider. "I am you," it said softly, the voice echoing inside her skull, not her ears. "The you that the world doesn't want to see." Lila stepped closer, her breath quick. "What do you mean?" The shadow tilted its head, mimicking her movement. "They love you for what's outside, but I love you for what's real, your anger, your envy, your pride. I am what makes you strong." Lila shook her head, her candle trembling. "You're not real." The shadow's smile deepened. "Then why do you feel me?" The candle flickered, and the attic went cold. The air pressed against her skin. Her heart raced. She could almost feel fingers brushing her shoulder, but when she turned, no one was there. Then the voice whispered again, sweeter this time. "Look deeper, and I will show you the power of truth." Her hand rose slowly, against her will, touching the mirror's cold surface. The moment her fingers met the glass, a shock ran through her, a flood of memories, fears, and emotions. She saw herself lying, mocking, envying. She saw every cruel word she had spoken to her sister. And then she saw Nora, her kindness, her patience, her love. The contrast was unbearable. Lila screamed, pulling her hand back. The mirror flickered violently, and the reflection smiled with wicked delight. Downstairs, Nora heard the scream and ran, her heart pounding. But by the time she reached the attic, Lila was on her knees, shaking, whispering the same words over and over. "It's inside me. It's inside me." The mirror stood silent once more, glowing faintly, like it had fed well. Artist palette image prompt 2, the fractured reflection, a dark cinematic close-up scene inside the attic. Lila kneels on the floor, surrounded by shattered candlelight reflections. The antique mirror stands tall before her, its surface rippling like water, faint golden cracks spreading across the glass. Inside the reflection, a dark version of Lila smiles, her eyes empty, her face serene yet terrifying. Nora stands at the door, framed by lantern light, her face filled with shock and compassion. The atmosphere is emotionally intense, psychological, and symbolically haunting. Clapperboard Scene 2, the fractured reflection. The attic air felt heavy, as if it had been holding its breath too long. Nora ran to her sister and knelt beside her, holding her shoulders. "Lila, what happened?" Lila's voice shook. "It spoke to me. It said it's me, but darker. It showed me things I didn't want to see." Nora looked at the mirror. Its surface rippled softly like a pond after a stone had been thrown. A faint heartbeat like pulse shimmered across the glass. "It feeds on what you believe," Nora said. "The more you fear it, the stronger it becomes." Lila's eyes filled with tears. "But it's right, Nora. I am ugly inside. I've been cruel, selfish." Nora gripped her hand. "No, you're human. You made mistakes, but you can change." The mirror's glow dimmed for a moment, as if those words hurt it. But then, a whisper, sharp and familiar, hissed from the reflection. "She's lying. You'll never change. You love yourself too much to be good." Lila gasped, shaking her head. "No!" The mirror's surface cracked, thin golden lines spreading like veins of light. The reflection on the other side smiled again, slowly pressing its palm against the glass. Nora stood, fear in her chest. "Don't touch it again," she warned. But Lila couldn't move away. Her own reflection was hypnotizing her, like looking into a version of herself that understood all her pain but offered no forgiveness. "Let me in," the voice said, "and you'll never feel weak again." Tears streamed down Lila's face. "No, I don't want this anymore." The mirror flickered, once, twice, and then suddenly went dark. The attic fell silent. The golden cracks across the glass stopped glowing. Lila collapsed into her sister's arms, sobbing. "It won't stop talking to me." Nora held her close. "Then we'll make it stop together." Outside, the wind howled like a voice caught between worlds. Inside the mirror, faintly visible in the shadows, the dark reflection of Lila opened its eyes again, still smiling. The mirror was quiet, but not defeated. Because truth, once awakened, never sleeps. Image prompt 1. The attic calls. A hyper-realistic, cinematic night scene inside the small wooden house. Rain lashes softly against foggy windows. The attic door is half open, a faint golden light spilling out from within. Lila stands in her nightgown at the bottom of the stairs, candle trembling in her hand. Her face shows fear and obsession mixed together. The shadows on the walls almost look alive, stretching toward the attic. Behind her, Nora watches from the hallway, concern in her eyes. The atmosphere feels haunting, psychological, yet heartbreakingly human. The attic air felt heavy, as if it had been holding its breath too long. Nora ran to her sister and knelt beside her, holding her shoulders. "Lila, what happened?" Lila's voice shook. "It spoke to me. It said it's me, but darker. It showed me things I didn't want to see." Nora looked at the mirror. Its surface rippled softly like a pond after a stone had been thrown. A faint heartbeat like pulse shimmered across the glass. "It feeds on what you believe," Nora said. "The more you fear it, the stronger it becomes." Lila's eyes filled with tears. "But it's right, Nora. I am ugly inside. I've been cruel, selfish." Nora gripped her hand. "No, you're human. You made mistakes, but you can change." The mirror's glow dimmed for a moment, as if those words hurt it. But then, a whisper, sharp and familiar, hissed from the reflection. "She's lying. You'll never change. You love yourself too much to be good." Lila gasped, shaking her head. "No!" The mirror's surface cracked, thin golden lines spreading like veins of light. The reflection on the other side smiled again, slowly pressing its palm against the glass. Nora stood, fear in her chest. "Don't touch it again," she warned. But Lila couldn't move away. Her own reflection was hypnotizing her, like looking into a version of herself that understood all her pain but offered no forgiveness. "Let me in," The voice said, "And you'll never feel weak again." Tears streamed down Lila's face. "No, I don't want this anymore." The mirror flickered, once, twice, and then suddenly went dark. The attic fell silent. The golden cracks across the glass stopped glowing. Lila collapsed into her sister's arms, sobbing. "It won't stop talking to me." Nora held her close. "Then we'll make it stop together." Outside, the wind howled like a voice caught between worlds. Inside the mirror, faintly visible in the shadows, the dark reflection of Lila opened its eyes again, still smiling. The mirror was quiet, but not defeated. Because truth, once awakened, never sleeps. Image prompt 1. The attic calls. Morning arrived reluctantly. The house seemed exhausted, as though the walls had witnessed too much truth in one night. Nora sat near the window, eyes swollen from crying, clutching her sister's trembling hand. Lila slept restlessly, whispering fragments of her nightmares. "It's watching, it knows me." Nora glanced at the mirror across the attic, its golden veins pulsing faintly even in daylight. It looked fragile, almost human, as if breathing softly between heartbeats. Something about it felt ancient, older than their home, older than the town itself. Driven by both fear and determination, Nora stood up and began searching through the attic, through dusty boxes, broken furniture, and forgotten memories. After hours of searching, she found a locked wooden chest beneath a collapsed beam. The lock broke easily. Inside lay old books, yellowed letters, and a cracked photograph of two women, twins, from a century ago. Their faces were eerily familiar. One smiled kindly, the other coldly. Her breath caught. The back of the photo carried a short message written in faded ink. "The mirror does not show your face. It shows your soul." Nora's heart pounded. She flipped through one of the books and found sketches, intricate symbols surrounding the mirror with a passage beneath. "The twin-hearted mirror of Avelin, forged by grief, bound by truth. It reveals not what you are, but what pride hides." Nora froze. It wasn't just a mirror, it was a curse. A mirror made for twins. Her mind raced back to the photo. The two women, their resemblance, the way one looked kind and the other cruel. Maybe they were the first victims. She whispered to herself, "It's meant for us." Behind her, the mirror shimmered faintly, as if pleased by her discovery. Then, as she turned to leave, a low hum began to fill the attic, deep, melodic, almost like a heartbeat. The mirror's surface rippled once more, and for the first time, it showed something different. Not her reflection, but a door hidden behind the glass. Nora's eyes widened. "What are you hiding?" She stepped closer, and the hum grew louder, a voice whispering under the rhythm of the glass. "You seek truth, but truth is not gentle." The reflection wavered, showing glimpses of a dark hallway, stone walls, flickering candles, and a woman crying. Nora reached out, hand trembling. The surface of the mirror was cold, like frozen breath. For a brief second, she felt herself pulled, not forward, but through. She gasped and stepped back, falling against the floor. The hum stopped. The mirror turned silent once again. But now she knew. It wasn't just reflecting them. It was a doorway built from pride and pain. That night, Nora couldn't sleep. Every sound, the ticking clock, the groan of the old floorboards, reminded her of the hum she'd heard. Lila sat by the window, pale and distant, her eyes glassy like she was still listening to something no one else could hear. Finally, Nora spoke, her voice quiet but firm. "Lila, I found something." "About the mirror?" Lila turned slowly. "It's not just showing things anymore. It's talking to me." "I know," Nora said. "It's called the twin-hearted mirror. It was made for people like us, sisters, mirrors of each other." Lila frowned. "For us?" Nora nodded. "It reveals pride. It feeds on it. That's why it found you." The words cut deep. Lila looked down, shame flickering across her face. "So it chose me because I'm weak?" "No," Nora said, sitting beside her. "It chose you because you needed to see what it hides. But now we need to break it before it breaks you." As they spoke, the mirror began to hum again, low and rhythmic. The golden cracks lit up like veins of fire. Lila froze. It's listening. Nora grabbed her hand. Then let it hear the truth. The mirror's glow intensified. And then, like a heartbeat skipping, its surface opened into a vision. They both saw it now. Two women inside the glass, one kneeling, crying, the other standing proudly with her chin raised high. Their faces were nearly identical to Nora and Lila. Lila whispered, "That's us?" The proud twin in the reflection smiled coldly. "Not yet," she said, "but soon." The glass trembled, and the mirror's voice, calm, ancient, and cruel, echoed through the attic. Every generation must face its reflection. Only one twin may walk away whole. The light flared. Lila screamed. The mirror shattered into golden shards. Yet the reflection remained, frozen mid-smile, the air like smoke. When the light faded, the sisters were alone again, surrounded by silence and fragments of glass that shimmered faintly like starlight. Nora held Lila tightly, both shaking. "We're not going to let it choose between us," she whispered. But deep inside, the mirror's hum returned, softer, deeper, like a heartbeat buried beneath the floor. The secret wasn't over. It had only just begun. Image prompt 1, the hidden chamber. Thunder roared outside like an ancient beast awakening. The storm had found its way into their home. Not through the windows, but through the silence between the sisters. The mirror lay shattered across the attic floor, yet its pieces pulsed faintly, like golden hearts still beating in the dark. Lila stood before them, trembling. "It's not gone," she whispered. "I can still hear it." Nora lifted the lantern, its weak light reflecting off 100 broken surfaces, each one showing a slightly different version of Lila. In some, she looked peaceful. In others, cruel. "Don't look into them," Nora warned. But it was too late. Lila's eyes locked onto one shard near her feet, the one where her reflection smiled back in defiance. "You think you're better than me," the reflection said softly, though Lila's lips didn't move. Lila froze. "Nora, did you hear that?" Nora shook her head. "There's nothing, Lila. It's just your mind playing tricks." But the voice grew louder, sharper. "You don't need her. You don't need anyone." Lila stepped back, her breath quick. "No, stop." The shards began to glow brighter, their hum syncing with the storm outside. The attic air thickened, swirling like wind inside a bottle. Then all at once, the shards lifted, floating slowly into the air, orbiting Lila like golden stars. Nora screamed, "Lila, step away." But Lila stood still, eyes wide with terror and awe. "It wants me to choose." "Choose what?" The air vibrated with the mirror's ancient voice. "The truth cannot be divided. One heart must break for the other to heal." Nora's eyes filled with tears. No, we can both heal." The voice thundered. "Only one can hold the light. The other must live in shadow." Lightning struck outside. The room flashed white, and in that blinding moment, every shard reflected a different truth. Moments of pride, love, envy, forgiveness. Lila fell to her knees, clutching her head. "It's showing me everything. Every word I said to hurt you." Nora knelt beside her. "Then let it show you the truth, but don't let it define you." But the reflection, the dark Lila, appeared again across all shards, whispering in unison, "You don't need forgiveness. You need power." The shards whirled faster. The light turned crimson. Nora screamed, reaching for her sister. Then silence. The attic became weightless. Time itself seemed to stop. Lila opened her eyes, and for a moment she saw herself not as she was, but as two halves, one filled with love and regret, the other burning with pride and pain. The reflection smiled gently. "You can't destroy me," it said. "I'm part of you." Lila trembled. "Then I'll accept you, but you won't control me anymore." The reflection tilted its head. "Acceptance isn't strength. It's surrender." Nora's voice cut through the tension like a blade of light. "Then let's surrender together." She reached out, taking her sister's hands. "We'll face it, both of us. No more running, no more pride." For the first time, the shards slowed. Their golden glow softened. The air seemed to exhale. The mirror's voice grew faint, almost sorrowful. Two hearts as one, that was the truth all along. Lila felt warmth spread through her chest, not from outside, but from within. The storm outside began to fade. The wind softened into rain. The shards slowly drifted down, one by one, until they formed a faint circle around the sisters. Lila looked into the last shard in front of her. Her reflection was whole again, not perfect, not proud, just human. Tears rolled down her cheeks. I see it now. Pride isn't beauty, it's blindness. Nora smiled through tears. And love is seeing even when it hurts. The last shard of the mirror dissolved into golden dust, rising toward the ceiling like fireflies. The curse was broken, not by destruction, but by understanding. As dawn touched the horizon, light poured to the attic window, wrapping the sisters in soft gold. The house finally felt at peace. Outside, the storm clouds parted, revealing a sky washed clean, like the world itself had taken a deep breath after years of silence. The mirror was gone, but its lesson lingered forever in their hearts.